we're going to examine the Go to Zero order. Now, in the past 27 months, the disastrous images of embassy personnel being airlifted off the roof in Kabul, the images of desperate parents throwing their babies over walls of HKIA, the images of Afghans clinging to the wings of transport planes. They've been played on loops across media across the world. The purpose of today's hearing is twofold. It's not to just rehash those horrifying images. It's to pinpoint the day where it all went wrong, where you could say there's a day before and a day after, the day that President Joe Biden announced the Go to Zero order. And it's not just to provide an after-action report. It's to force President Biden to do something that it seems he hasn't been willing to do since the day he was sworn into office, and that's to live in reality, the reality of the circumstances that are going on around you. President Biden loves to say that the collapse of Kabul in August of 21 was inevitable, but anybody who was paying an ounce of attention can tell you that it wasn't inevitable. The collapse of Kabul wasn't something that we were headed towards in 2002. It wasn't something that we were headed towards in 2010 when I was airlifted off the battlefield of Kandahar. It wasn't something that we were headed towards in 2016 when Donald J. Trump was elected. It wasn't something that we were headed towards on February 29, 2020, when the Doha Agreement was signed. It wasn't something that we were headed towards on January 20, 2021, when Joe Biden took office. It became inevitable on April 14, 2021, when Joe Biden publicly announced his plans for an unconditional withdrawal by September 11, 2021. President Biden loves to place the blame on the Doha Agreement and President Trump's negotiations. But in doing so, I believe that he is ignoring reality. Let's be clear, the Doha Agreement told President Biden what he had to do. But President Biden did not have to publicly announce any plans for a specific withdrawal date. Didn't have to be a hard and fast date that he announced to the world, a self-imposed deadline. President Biden did not have to redirect resources from fighting terrorists in all capacities to drawing down all operations at the height of the fighting season, as opposed to the winter months. President Biden did not have to knock the knees out from the Afghan military by cutting and gutting their air support, withdrawing key contractors, and pulling logistic capabilities. President Biden did not have to abandon Bagram Air Base in the middle of the night without so much as a Dear John letter to our Afghan partners. President Biden did not have to ignore the fact that the Taliban was in violation of every single condition that was set forward by the Doha Agreement. All of those decisions were made by a commander-in-chief who was determined to, in my opinion, avoid reality, and whose only North Star was a political future, a political star. Our witnesses today will be able to speak to the reality that President Biden so obviously avoided. Mr. Roggio saw the writing on the wall as he tracked the Taliban's takeover of Afghanistan in real time. General Sami Sadat was forced to live with the consequences of Biden's delusion as his troops were left demoralized and without resources needed to defend their nation, a nation that myself and my colleague both spent a good amount of time in. I also want to thank Dr. Dipali Mukhopadhyay. I've worked on saying that a couple times and I still mess it up, and I apologize. I'm going to have to say it a few more times. For being here today, to lend your expertise and your opinion, and to recognize the members of the Afghan Army's National Female Tactical Platoon who are in attendance today. In addition, I want to recognize the fact that Miss Christy Shamlin, mother-in-law of Sergeant Nicole G. is here today. It's always nice to see you and appreciate you continually paying attention to this issue, taking of your time to continually do so. One of the 13 killed at the Abbey Gate. Here's why all of this matters. Let me wrap this up. The refusal to operate in reality that gave more than 13 families the title of Gold Star on August 26, 2021. It's the same delusion that has underestimated terrorists and led to 48 attacks against our U.S. military posts in the past month, not living in reality of what's taking place. Same delusion that allowed him to say that there's a safe and secure border, or that inflation is just a brief transient inflation. It's not a recognition of reality in foreign and domestic. Every minute that President Biden ignores the reality is another minute that our troops across the globe are put at unnecessary risk, and another minute that the network of terrorists from Taliban to Hamas are able to get closer to their goals of destroying the United States of America. Hey everyone, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed the video, please click like and subscribe. I will be back on YouTube with more exclusive content, so stay tuned.